Adam, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Excited to chat with you, Antoine.
Adam, you've had a very exciting career, and it seems like you took a lot of different turns throughout that career. And today you're building an eyewear brand, aquatic eyewear brand. So I just want to get into the origin story of how this all started, why you decided to do this, and why was this the right time?
It's a big question. I think that for me, I always had a dream of starting my own company one day. When I was 16, I promised myself that I would never work for anyone else. And it's a promise that I didn't keep until my mid 40s. And the reason was I always found myself having good opportunity, and I lacked having that one singular vision that I was always envious of these amazing entrepreneurs, that they were able to find that one thing that excited them so much that they just wanted to dedicate everything to it. So I think it was a combination of opportunity, a desire to learn and grow in my own career, coupled with not knowing what that one thing was. And throughout my life, I always just loved and still participate in a ton of sports. And I always struggled with my eyewear. I always found that it kind of took me out of my moment, whether it was ski or snowboard, where it would fog up, and water sports certainly, and even cycling and running. I always found that foggy or messing with your glasses during your sport really takes you out of your sport. If you think about if you like running, if you're thinking about your shoes when you're running, it means you have the wrong shoe. So to me, the best gear is the gear that we can forget about. And that really was my goal after working in product development for 20 years, was just kind of again looking at the category of sports optics and feeling, I guess, a collective frustration among enthusiasts and athletes of why are we all struggling with our eyewear? There's got to be a better way, and wanting to kind of dig in on that problem.
And that's interesting. I got a few questions about, again, why this was the right time for you. I'll tell you why. A lot of the people that I talk to are much younger and they say, you know what? I have nothing to lose. So let me start a business. If it fails, it fails. And if it doesn't, then, good for me. What do you think, what allowed you to take the risk today? Do you think you had like a safety net? Do you feel like you've had a great career, so you had a bit saved up so you could try to do something you're really passionate about or give it a shot today? An opportunity you didn't have back in the day?
It's a good question. For me, I had a few things happen in my life that kind of served as wake-up calls. And my dad was a huge inspiration in my life, really infusing the love of sports, also a passion for entrepreneurship and business. And this was something that we shared as a passion. And when I lost my dad to cancer a couple of years ago, it was kind of a pause button for me on life. Being in my mid 40s, like you said, kind of having had career success, but also having this itching feeling that there's more to life. And that thing that's more is not about chasing more money, or I sometimes call it just chasing tokens. If you're in an arcade, do you spend all your time chasing tokens or do you spend the time playing the games? And just realizing life is so short and so wonderful and beautiful. Let's make the most of all of our time and our memories. And wanting to do something that was more close to my heart in terms of my passions. Also, having learned a lot about the corporate world and wanting to create a company that was really aligned with my own personal values around really surrounding myself with a great team, providing a platform or a stage where my team could grow, where people could realize their best selves. a place where people can come in feeling great and leave at the end of the day feeling even better, that they contributed, that they were able to be seen and heard and valued and contribute to a growing company, and really create an inclusive and really welcoming culture that put our enthusiasts, our customers, and our product first, but do it in a really fun and respectful way where life is short. People deserve to have unbelievable, nourishing, fulfilling careers. If that's important to you, and wanting to surround myself with like-minded people.
Well, that's an amazing mindset, Adam. And sorry about your dad. Um, I I want to ask you a bit about product market fit. You said that this is something you struggled with. Did you actually go out in the market or ask your friends about it? Because if you feel something, it might just be you. So how did you actually validate that this was worth opening a business around?
So I've been a consumer, a customer for my whole life, and I've bought every type of eyewear, goggle, glasses, and often I get a few minutes great, and then after I end up getting problems around fogginess, discomfort, leaky style and design. So in my career as a product developer, I kind of over the years have realized that if I have a problem, you're never alone. It's a big world out there. For sure, there's other people that have the same kind of concerns or issues that I did. And I'll just add to my story a little bit about where I and how I started it. Because when I decided, and I had left my previous company where I was the head of product development and merchandising in a large company, um, I wanted to take some time, and I really wanted to explore and learn and brainstorm. And part of that journey was the joy of starting again as a beginner in new categories and learn, really putting myself in a position to learn. I think the worst thing that we could do is get comfortable in life. And sometimes when you've run around the same track so many times, you could do it with your eyes closed. Are you really challenging yourself? Are you really opening yourself to the possibilities of the world? And I think that there's so much more value and growth that comes from challenge versus kind of putting it in neutral and just coasting, which is kind of where I found myself. So I had at that time about a dozen different ideas that really fascinated and interested me. And this idea of the eyewear, this was the idea I didn't talk about. This was the idea that was the for fun one, that was kind of the silly idea. But I spent time on it really in my nights and weekends, designing and envisioning new approaches to the product. Um, and like I said, it stayed really in this back of mind phase until I had another very tragic loss in my immediate family. I lost my youngest brother in last October, so we're still less than a year, which was devastating to me and my family, as you can imagine. And around that time, I also happened to have completed my first prototype of our what became our launch model. So I think it was a combination of the work that I'd put in, my desire to sink myself very wholly and completely into something to kind of help me deal with my grief, that stars aligned and I put on my first prototype and something clicked in my brain. I got more excited about what we had created than any of the other opportunities or all of them put together. And I put on that first pair, and I have a model here of them. Um, and I put these on, and they were so comfortable that I said something clicked, and I just said, "This is it. This is what I'm going to focus on because it's so new, it's so different." They were so much and are so much more comfortable. As you can see, I don't even have the strap on. This is kind of a testing pair, and they fully stick on. So, I can. you can hear how unbelievable the suction is. So I was so excited by what we had even created at the prototype stage that I realized this is what I want to do, and we haven't looked back. You know, I have a very scrappy, nimble team, but people have been super passionate about what we're doing because it's so different. So that's been a big part of kind of that crystallized moment of going from not doing it to all of a sudden really doing it and doing it in a big way.
Adam, you were talking about building a prototype in such a simple way, but it's not that easy, right? Because you're just mentioning it like, yeah, I built a prototype. But do you feel like your corporate experience helped you in becoming a lot more effective in building this prototype or this product?
Definitely. I spent the last really 15 years of my career always working in product development and sales and marketing. And so I guess having spent so much time in factories globally, I look at products maybe a little bit differently. I'm not an engineer by trade or by training, but I am an engineer in terms of how I look at how things are made. I always loved this show when I was a kid called How It's Made. There was something about it that I just enjoyed seeing the process of how do we look around and we live in a very manufactured society. Um, and that was something that always interested me. So I didn't, it's not that I knew so much necessarily about eyewear or optical lenses, but I do have a good understanding of how things are made and how to get things made. So I guess that was certainly an advantage in that I didn't look at that as a stumbling block when starting. And I really feel like I could have explored or looked into many different product categories. And I'm a product passionate person in general, but this was a category that I didn't feel was necessarily overly complex, but where I saw a lot of room for improvement in the category. So that's what kind of drew me to it. And also this idea that it really stems from my own personal need. Eye protection is so important. People who spend a lot of time outside or on the water and aren't protecting their eyes, we kind of take it for granted. You know, we're educated and we know so much about sunscreen, how to protect our skin, and we're wearing UV hats and we're wearing the clothing, and people sometimes neglect their eyes. And since starting the business, I've heard countless stories of people who've actually suffered serious eye damage. Surfers have a condition where the cornea actually grows over the eye to further protect their eyes from so much UV and sun exposure. So these are real situations that people are facing that aren't really well known. And it was really born from this idea of we can do something that's a little bit different and a little bit better. Having looked at all the innovation that's happened in, for example, ski and snow goggles over the last decade, and kind of feeling that water sports had lagged. So seeing an opportunity to bring innovation to an underserved part of the market.
And so now that you have your product, your prototype, you're out there, what's the next step for you? What are you working on right now?
Well, you know what? It's interesting because the it hasn't been, and I'm sure you've seen this in all the work that you've done with so many founders. I believe that it's rarely a linear journey, and I think that part of success is being open to understanding and really seeing where the path takes you. Don't be at the mercy of the market necessarily, but don't be overly committed to one singular path because sometimes new paths present themselves. And I think if we look at a lot of big companies or any company, you'll often see an entrepreneur who was able to read early signals, follow early signals, and adjust their path accordingly. So when I first started Era, I really was creating, like I said, for myself as the first customer. I'm an athlete. I'm an enthusiast. When I say athlete, I'm not a superstar. I just love sports.
Yeah.
And I have kids, so I'm an active parent. I'm often running. If it's a goggle situation, I'm probably running in five directions at once. I'm trying to make everybody happy, and I'm trying to have a good time as well myself. And often I'll do that wearing goggles or glasses. Um, but quickly, kind of learning and listening to our consumers, we saw that we were getting embraced by communities that we didn't originally anticipate or target. And those were in kite surfing, jet ski, water ski, all different kinds of boating that we didn't really even sailing. We didn't really think about that when we first envisioned the product and our brand. And excuse me, and they definitely have embraced us because they're underserved in terms of their category. So that was kind of a first big learning away from our original product and target customer. And I would say now we're really on the verge of our next kind of uh, you can call it a calibration more than a course correction, but it's just around really understanding what our key differentiator is. And it's not so much about, even though hopefully, you agree they look amazing, in terms of being a full frameless goggle or eyewear. But our biggest advantage is actually, and our biggest differentiator is in our lens technology and how we can apply that to other sports. So we've been able to really innovate and bring to market a completely fog-free experience. And for someone like me, I love my sports, but I sweat. And oftentimes my glasses will get too foggy and to make good use of them. So I've really learned to do my sports without glasses, even ski and snowboard. I'll put them on, I'll take them off, but I'm kind of always messing with my lenses. And so that was a big learning for us. So now we're really focused on our lens technology and how we can apply that into other sports to give that same amazing experience to athletes and enthusiasts across many different sports. And so really focusing less on just water sports, but looking at it more from the angle of how can we bring and improve the experience of people across many different sports who suffer, as I do, from fogginess. We all know that experience in the winter when you go from cold into hot, we get the fogginess. So I think that that's a huge, huge differentiator. It certainly makes the sports a lot more comfortable. And when you kind of take all these things that we're working on and just boil them down to their simplest form, our goal as a company is just to allow people to make the most of their memories. Kind of going back to that realization of life is so short. If we can create those what I call memory making moments, and when you look at a lifetime, how many do we have that are these amazing memory making moments? I don't want that moment when you're in the beach with your family, your friends, loved ones, whatever it is, that you're messing with your goggles and it took you away from what should be the most pure and beautiful memory of a lifetime.
So maybe my last question I want to ask you, all this corporate success that you've had, do you do you feel like it was difficult to start a company, or was it a natural transition in terms of hiring people, in terms of managing them, being responsible, being the owner, and you know, at the end of the day, if it succeeds or not, you're accountable. So, do you feel that this extra pressure motivates you? Do you feel like it's difficult? Like, how did this transition feel? I mean, you spent so much time under the umbrella of large corporations.
To be honest, I've always had the mentality throughout my career where I guess I've always approached everything that I've done with full heart. And I will never forget one of my early jobs when I was in my teens, I was working the night shift at an Italian kind of bistro cafe in the downtown area, and it was the bars would empty out at 3 o'clock in the morning, and people would come for their pizza and their Italian food. And I worked there behind the counter. I was dishwashing, cleaning the restaurant. And I remember one time this man was watching me, and he called me over and he gave me a $20 tip. I say man, he was probably maybe 5, 10 years older than me, but I was a teenager, and he gave me a $20 tip, and I was shocked. And he said, I see the heart that you're putting into what is clearly your family business, and I want to just recognize you. I told him this is not my family business, but I thank you. And he made this assumption because he saw that I was working hard and I was putting my care into it. So the reality is that I always and I think it's important, no matter what we're doing in life, always approach it with the greatest amount of hard work, passion, care. If you don't feel it in what you're in now, you're probably in the wrong thing or the wrong field or studying the wrong subject. Um, and it's normal. It comes and goes for everybody. For sure, you're never going to love 100% of everything anywhere. But yeah, I've always approached everything that I've done with the same degree of heart. And I think this is no different. I do think that this is, uh, I think there's two parts to it. One is the hard work, and one is also the importance of reminding yourself to have fun. Life is short. We should be having fun and infuse the fun into everything that we do. That's part of the joy of creating products for the sports channel. The people that I've met are just absolutely incredible in this field. It's a great, great industry because I think it's so pure at you can feel good when you sell sports equipment to people because you know that it's going to help them enjoy and perform better in their sport. And I think sport is one of the joys of life. Maybe we talk about it too little. We talk about food and we cherish our food and our chefs. Athletes, and star athletes, they're kind of like the star chefs of the world. We don't have to cook as good as them, but we all do cook and we all have fun with it. So it's truly one of the joys of life when you find a sport that you enjoy and that you're passionate about.
I want to tell you something, Adam. Your passion is super contagious. It's amazing. I mean, it makes me want to get excited about anything right now. It's really cool that you love what you're building and you really believe in it. Um, Thank you so much for sharing, especially, the more emotional parts of your journey. And I can't wait to see where you'll be because I feel like you have all the ingredients, which is like a good product, a good founder, a good mindset, and you have that experience. Earlier on in the discussion, when I said that early founders that who start really early, their main disadvantage is that they don't have any experience behind them. So they're kind of just A/B testing their way through life, but you know exactly what you like, and you're at the stage where it's time to execute. So I really love what you're doing, and I can't wait to see where this will all be in a couple of years. And I'll be watching your journey, Adam. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Antoine. Really appreciate the nice comments. And thank you for having me on. Great to chat with you.